done that. So I want to introduce to you today somebody I've been knowing since he was in law school, very impressive young man. But I want to start out talk globally about judges here in Shelby County and what they're facing. Let me start out with that first. Judges can't ask you for money. We got a pretty good judiciary. We don't have a great one, but it's pretty damn good, and we should feel blessed for having it. So we have to have these events for judges because they can't go out like regular politicians and campaign. And so that's why a group of us, Billy Wall, Miles Mason, Alan Crone, I think that's it. Thank you, Robert, for coming on time. Thank you, Robert Thompson. We're hosting this for Will Perry. Let me tell you about Will Perry. All right, Will Perry, distinguished graduate of Craigmont High School. And I met Will Perry's little brother before I met him. I was his mock trial coach. But the dean at the University of Tennessee Law School introduced me to Will, and he just told me this guy's going to be a star, Bruce. He's going to be this, that. I looked at him, I didn't think much of him. All right. But Will graduated from Craigmont. He went to Wake Forest. Will came back here and taught, what grade? 8th grade English. Came back here, did not make a money decision. I get on him about this all the time, and some of y'all have heard me talk about him, have heard this before. But he didn't make a money decision. He made a decision to give back to the community. Then after teaching 8th grade for a period of time, Will enrolled in law school at the University of Tennessee, the best law school in the country, I think. I'm not positive, but I think it is. I think it's wrong.
Chime in, Steve. Come on.
Will graduated from the University of Tennessee Law. He clerked at my firm, Baker Donelson. We made him an offer, and he turned us down. And Will went on to work for another firm.
He was also my mentee.
Yeah, that was the
Which
problem.
may be the reason.
It was an institutional problem. We got it corrected this time. And Will went and clerked for the 6th Circuit Court of Appeals, the Honorable Judge Bernice Donald, and he was back on the circuit again. He was wanted to come back into private practice, and we kept Robert Tom out of the conversation. We still couldn't get him back. He went to another firm. But one thing about Will, in all of his decisions, it was not really driven by money or prestige or something like that. If you know him, it is driven by giving back. Everybody knows what a judge makes compared to what Will was making in his prior life. And you know he did not make a money decision. He made a decision about giving back, doing community service. I had a stint in community service, but I couldn't give up Baker and do that, so I kind of did both of them. But I appreciated that. I'm not as committed as you are, Will. But I really admire that about him. Will is highly intelligent, a very good lawyer. If I had to say one thing negative about him, he's not a politician. And that's why he needs people like us to support him financially, and support him also in the community. If you're a lawyer, you know 10 or 15 people are going to call you and say, what about this judge? What about that judge? What about this judge? And I think we have an obligation to talk about our judges and tell them what they're getting. And so without saying anything else or talking about myself at all, I present
Thanks everybody for coming. I want to start by thanking some members of my new judicial family. I saw Judge Valerie Smith here. I saw Judge Corbin Johnson here. If any other judges are here, please raise your hand now so that I don't miss you. But thank you for coming. I will be brief. Thank you, Bruce, for that introduction. Introduction from Bruce are always a mixed bag, as you heard there. As any good lawyer would do, I'll give you 3 reasons I'm in this position and want to keep it. First, I'm new to the bench, right? I'm a new judge, but I'm not new to public service, as you heard from Bruce. I was a school teacher before I became a lawyer and before I became a judge. You may not know that both of my parents also were school teachers. My mother was a career educator. She retired from Ridgeway High School. She also taught at Memphis State. True Memphians know what that is. She also taught at freshman English at Memphis State. She taught at Southwest. My dad was a project manager for 30 years at AT&T, but he has a chemistry degree. He retired. He taught calculus. He taught at Hollis F. Price, which is the high school on the campus of Lemoyne. So I come to public service really in an organic way. I didn't know any other way, and I wasn't thinking about it in terms of public service. I just thought these are the things, these are the kinds of professions that you pursue, and it's proof that comes from my family because I left college and became a teacher. I left grad school and became a teacher. My brother left college and became a counselor. So that's kind of the culture that my family kind of baked into us. Second thing I'll tell you is that I'm qualified to do the job. I won't spend a lot of time running down my resume, but I've done all the things that you want somebody who's a judge to do. In law school, I was on the Law Journal. I was Chief Justice of the Moot Court Board. I calculated legal writing. I was a TA for legal writing. I clerked for a federal judge. I've been an adjunct professor at Memphis Law. I made partner at a major law firm that Bruce wouldn't say the name of. I made partner at Butler Snow. I did commercial and appellate litigation. Commercial litigation means a lot of different things depending on where you are. For me, that meant a lot of breach of contract actions, but it also meant personal injury, it meant employment work, it meant intellectual property work, it meant real property work. I have tried cases in Tennessee and Mississippi. I've litigated cases in 12 or 13 different states and state and federal court. So again, that's about what I'll say about my resume and my legal resume, but all the things that you want a judge to have done and to see on a resume. The third thing I'll say about why I want to keep this position and why I'm in it is that it gives me a chance to represent my community. Right? I'm a Memphis guy. I'm from Memphis. I grew up here. I grew up in Raleigh. I went to Crone High School, which you heard from Bruce. And this role allows me not just to serve the community, but to represent it. Right? Like when I'm in this space, Craigmont's in that space with me. Right? My parents, who grew up, in segregated Southern U.S. My dad picked tobacco, right? Because he couldn't get jobs in segregated spaces. They walk in those rooms with me. My grandparents walk in those rooms with me. All of the places I've been, my law school, UT, the Mutual Law School, it's Bruce is in my best law school in the world, that walks in those spaces with me. And so it's very important to me to do a good job, not just because I'm serving this community, but because I represent it. And I think about my students a lot, not just my students at Sherwood, but my students at the law school, and some of the nonprofit boards that I serve on. And it's important that I do a good job because I represent them too. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that. As Bruce said, please use your influence to support me, and thank you for supporting me. And thank you very much for coming today, and I look forward to seeing you a lot more. Thank you.